listening to the Life Edit Project podcast, where busy, ambitious high achievers get the tools they need to fight overwhelm and overthinking with balance, self-mastery, and a positive mindset. I'm your host, Elizabeth Burrows. I'm serving up bite-sized truth bombs in a judgment-free zone based on my perspective as a life coach, wife, mom, and recovering overachiever. We keep it real over here, which usually means some combination of insightful, entertaining, and a hot mess express. So, if you're looking for perfection, look elsewhere. But if you're still with me, let's dig into this week's episode. Good day, good people. Welcome back to episode 38 of the Life Edit Project podcast. I'm super excited because I've got a juicy, meaty conversation for you for today's episode. Y'all do know that it is February, and February is Black History Month. So today I am sharing a rebroadcast of an Instagram live that I did a while back where I talked about Black women and friendships and the role that friendships play in the support system of Black women. I talk about just how incredible and how nourishing friendships can be for Black women, but also how friendships are not necessarily sufficient for the success of Black women. And I say all of this from the perspective of someone who is a Black woman. And y'all know I'm a Black woman 365 days a year, but I am blackety black in February during Black History Month. So I really wanted to bring this conversation to the podcast. Listen, if you are not a Black woman, this episode is still for you, because everyone in this world either is already or has the potential to be in community with Black women. If you know a Black woman, if you are related to a Black woman, if you love a Black woman, if you gave birth to a Black woman, if you work with a Black woman, right? You need to listen to this conversation because it will give you some insight into potentially the role that you might be playing in the support system of a Black woman. And just in case it's not clear, I stand 10 toes down for the success of Black women. So this conversation is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to try to keep this intro pretty short because I have to warn you, this episode is a little bit longer than my traditional episodes because I was on live and I had some interaction and some comments in this particular live stream. And so I was talking back to my audience as well as sharing the things that I had originally wanted to share. I will say this, because this conversation was longer than usual and I didn't want to make this podcast episode too long, I did edit out a part of the broadcast that wasn't directly related to this topic. So if you are interested in the full conversation in the full video, you want to catch that replay, check the show notes for a link to that Instagram replay. Okay. So you can see the full thing there. Otherwise, y'all enjoy this conversation. Oh, wait. And before I forget, season 2 is coming really, really soon. Season 2 of the Life Edit Project podcast will kick off on Wednesday, February 21st. So that is 2 weeks from the day that this episode is released. And I'm super excited. More about that later. But for now, please enjoy this conversation about Black women and friendships. Ready? Let's go. Come on in. Today we are talking about Black women and friendships. What's up with it? What's the state of it? And what can we do about it, right? I am so ready to dig into this conversation. If you have joined, click like, click share, because this is going to be a juicy conversation. And I want y'all chiming in because I promise this is going to be good. Okay. So first, before we dig into this topic, let me introduce myself and then set this up. So my name is Elizabeth Burrows, and I am the founder and the creator of the Life Edit Project. That's my business. I am a productivity coach and a life coach. I primarily work with women, but I work with women one-on-one, busy women, my women are busy. I work with women one-on-one to help them create balance at work and at home, right? So I offer one-on-one coaching services, and I have worked with hundreds of women at this point. And I've also coached some men, right? And so I have a lot of experience. And let me also just clarify, hello, I'm a Black woman, right? And I'm a Black woman that has friends, that has had friends and lost friends. Had friends and lost friends. So I have lots of thoughts about the topic of Black women and friendship. So I definitely want to talk about this subject, but here's how we got started on this, right? Here's why I'm going live today. So in my stories earlier today, I shared a reel that was going around. I forget the page, but I shared the reel. And it's a snippet of a conversation between two Black women. It's being recorded by somebody else, a third person. And the ladies are in a car, and one of the ladies is crying, and the other lady is clearly her friend, and she's giving her like this crazy massive pep talk, right? And she's telling her, I love you, do better. And from the sound of the conversation, it sounds like the crying friend was dealing with some type of relationship with a guy that was not serving her. Now, whether that's a romantic relationship or what, we don't know, because we don't have the full context. But she's crying, and her friend is telling you, I love you, do better. Like, stop this. Sorry if this is coming off harsh, but you need to hear this, go do better, right? I'm holding you accountable. And her friend is crying, but saying, thank you. Yes, I needed to hear that. We're good. I appreciate you, right? So when I came across this reel, I think it was yesterday when I came across it. I watched it a couple of times, and I got like a little misty-eyed. I got a little misty-eyed because it just felt so relatable. There were, like, when I watched it, I was identifying with both the woman who was giving the pep talk, let's call her strong friend. I was identifying with the strong friend, and I was also identifying with the crying friend, the one who was getting the pep talk, the one who was getting the tough love, right? And it just felt so real, and it was obviously an authentic, like, candid conversation that was happening, right? And so then my coach brain turned on, right? After I had my little misty-eyed moment, my coach brain turned on, and I started going through the comments. And I saw so many interesting perspectives that I was like, okay, like, we have to talk about this in community, because clearly everybody out there has thoughts and opinions about this, right? So I saw a bunch of comments from other women, especially Black women, who felt like me, right? Who got emotional as they watched it, and they thought it was a beautiful demonstration of what friendship can look like between two Black women, right? And I was like, yeah, that's what's up. And then I saw lots of comments from women who were saying, I've been that strong friend. I've been the one giving the pep talk. And, there's no one out there to give me those talks when I need it. And I was like, yeah, I can see that. And then there were even more of those strong friends in the comments saying, yeah, I've given those pep talks to my friends before, and I've lost friendships over it, right? Like, my friend couldn't receive the tough love that I was giving her, and so the friendship ended, right? And I was like, wow. And there were other comments too. There was all kinds of speculation in the comments from all different people about whether or not the friend who was crying was actually in a state of mind to have that conversation, whether or not her behavior was going to change going forward, right? Whether or not it was worth it for the relationship. There were all kinds of comments. Listen, one of the most frustrating things for me in that moment was finding men, mostly men in the comments, making all kinds of speculation about the relationship status of the pep talk friend. Right? Saying she's probably single, giving this girl bad advice, like she needs to mind her business. And first of all, that's not what this video is about. But I just had to acknowledge the fact that some of the commentary was about that right there. Okay? So here's what I want to say. And I'm going to say this, and then we're going to get deeper into it, right? And I want this to really sink in. Black women today need a support circle that is bigger than just friends and family. Full stop. Black women need support circles that are bigger than just their friends and family. I'm going to say it one more time for the people in the back. Black women need support circles that are bigger than just friends and family. Right? And the reason why is because Black women have a unique set of problems that deserve the attention and the resources to actually be solved. Right? So here's what I've noticed. When Black women are in community with each other, when Black women are supporting and uplifting each other, there is usually that one person that the group considers the strong friend. Now, all of them are strong, right? But there's always that one that seems to be the strongest that all the other friends call on and rely on whenever stuff goes down, right? Like we literally call her the strong friend, right? And here's what I want you to consider. If you are the strong friend, and if you're watching this video, there's a very good chance that you are. If you are the strong friend, one of the problems you have is that you have issues supporting and showing up for people without taking on their problems as your own. I'm going to say that again. If you are the strong friend, one of the problems you have is figuring out how to show up in support of the people that you love without taking on their problems as your own. If your homegirl Nikki is having problems with her man, you got a problem with her man. Right? If your other homegirl, right, is looking for a job, you looking for a job for her. Right? Because being the strong friend usually means showing up for people in big, massive ways until the job is done. Right? Like if your homegirl is beefing with her man, you're not done beefing with her man until she's done. And sometimes not even then. Right? Because you're the strong friend. And here is the problem with that. At some point, when you are showing up for everybody, taking on the weight of their problems as your own, it is going to reach a critical mass where you end up collapsing under the weight of everybody else's problems. I got a comment here. Sometimes the strong friend is self-delegated and tied to thoughts about being seen as weak. 100%, right? So one thing I said earlier is in every group, right, there's that strong friend. Ask her how she got that way. It wasn't because the friends had a meeting and decided we're going to all vote for Elizabeth to be the strong friend. That's not how that happens. Strong friend just shows up as strong friend because she feels like it's expected of her, right? Because that's the way that she's learned how to relate to people her whole life. Right? She literally doesn't know how to not show up as a strong friend. And people see that. There's that phrase that you teach people how to treat you. When you always show up as the strong friend that shows up for everybody else, you teach people to bring you their problems. Wow. If this is landing for you, give me some hearts. If you're liking this, go ahead and share this broadcast because I guarantee you there's somebody in your network that needs to hear this conversation. Right? Here's the other thing, right? So I told you at the top of this video that one of the things I saw in the comment was lots of ladies in the comment saying, I've been that strong friend so many times before, but I don't have anyone that I can turn to that's going to talk to me like that. I don't have the strong friend for me to turn to, right? Because when you set yourself up as the strong friend, like that's it. You're playing that role with everybody in all your relationships, right? But as we all know very well, strong friends need help too. Strong friends need support, right? Being a strong friend, being the strong friend does not mean that you don't have moments of weakness. It does not mean you're Superwoman, right? And so this brings me back to my whole hypothesis for this video. No, my thesis for this video, which is Black women need support circles that are bigger than just friends and family. And it's because when we have the habit of showing up in relationship with our friends and family in a way that does not allow room for us to be vulnerable or for us to have needs that are met by other people, we need to bring in additional support. Also, I'm going to say this. So many of us Black women today aren't just out here like doing the regular work of everyday life. So many of us are taking on the monumental task of trying to break generational curses and heal generational trauma. That is big, heavy, audacious work. And when you are trying to do that kind of work, baby, your friends and family, the ones who are in the trenches with you, they can't support you in getting out because they don't know where out is. It's crabs in a bucket, right? When you are doing the heavy, heavy work of not just trying to blaze your own path for your own life, but you are literally trying to be the trailblazer for your family and to change the trajectory of the path for your whole family and those who come after you. When that is the work that you're doing, you better believe you need another level of support. You feel me? Right? Yeah. Wow. Yes. Right. And so let me say this. When that's the work that you're doing, when you're trying to reach levels, not just new personal levels, but levels that have been unreached by the regular people in your friends and family circle, right? It's time to bring in outside support. And that outside support can look like simply expanding your friend network, right? You can totally do that. However, I am going to encourage you to invest in professional support because there are people, whatever your needs are, whatever changes you're trying to make, there are people who are literally trained and resourced to help you be successful. And your success is worth the investment. Not just worth the investment, but your success requires the investment. If you're really going to get there in a way that actually supports your healing instead of a way that re-traumatizes you and deepens the trauma that you're already trying to heal from. Let me give you an example. Okay. So for so many, so one thing we know is that Black women, right, these days, we are among the most educated group of people, right? When you look at demographics, ain't nobody out here getting as many degrees as Black women, right? And one of the reasons is because we have been taught that education is part of the solution, right? It's part of the path out of wherever we've been stuck as a people, right? Black women have taken that to heart. We're like, all right, if education is the path, let me get this bachelor's, let me get this master's. I know so many Black women PhDs. It's incredible, right? Like Black women are degreed up, right? It's not about what we're out here collecting degrees, right? It's not about whether or not Black women can handle things, right? But if your goal is to get education, it's a very different experience going to get a bachelor's degree at an HBCU as a Black woman than it is going to get a degree at a PWI, a predominantly white institution. Very different experiences, right? And while I got my degrees, yes, two, right? A bachelor's and a master's. I got my degrees at PWIs, right? But let me tell you, the trauma that I was exposed to in some of those environments, I'm not going to name which schools and what happened. You know what? Forget that. Yes, I am. I'm going to tell y'all. Because speaking truth is part of how we shed light on all this, right? So I did my undergrad at the University of Florida. Go Gators. Yes. University of Florida. But let me tell you, the University of Florida has one of the most racially charged and racist student experiences for students of color out there. There, I said it, right? The level of segregation that I experienced on campus was unlike anything else. And I had gone to a private school from grades 1 through 8, where by 8th grade, I was the only Black person in my class. And still, my experience at the University of Florida was one of the most racist experiences in my life. I'll say this. While I was attending the University of Florida, which is in Gainesville, right? So it's North Florida. There was actually an active, how do I say this? I don't want the algorithm to shut me off, y'all. You know, whenever you start talking about things like this, the algorithm gets spooked. So let me say this. While I was there on campus attending school, there was a local chapter of a racist organization that is very well known for its hate and violence against Black people that was actively recruiting and spreading flyers on campus. A racist organization whose whole history was violent and racism against Black people that was actively recruiting on campus. For context, Gainesville, where the University of Florida is just a few miles away from the city Rosewood, where there was like one of the most heinous massacres of Black people. Right? Okay. So, and I say all of this, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I say all this to say that as a Black woman, my work of educating myself as part of my path to empowerment, including exposing myself to a level of danger, right? A lack of safety and a traumatic racist experience. It came with the territory, right? And one of the only reasons why I was able to make it through that experience without being further damaged was because I was able to connect into community there. Right? The community, the tightness of the Black community at the University of Florida is amazing. It's amazing. I still to this day have friends and connections from, my Black student colleagues at UF. Amazing, right? Had I not been able to connect, though, it would have been very different. And so sometimes, and here's the thing, like, I went there when I started at UF. I was going with 2 of my best friends that I had also gone to high school with. But my support circle throughout undergrad needed to be bigger than just those 2 girls. It had to be. They were not enough to support me. One of the ways that I got successful was by expanding my support circle, right? So bringing this back to this conversation of Black women today and friendships, one of the reasons why it's important to expand your circle of support beyond friends and family, and I have to say family too, right? Because we know that sometimes our family end up being the friends that we start with, right? To this day, I'm very close to my sisters, right? I can call any of my sisters at any point and know that they're going to have my back the way my friends do, right? And honestly, I think of my friends today as chosen family, right? For me, there is no distinction except bloodline, right? So I have to say that. But one of the reasons why it's important as a Black woman to expand your circle of support beyond just the friends and family that you have and that you choose is because when you're doing that heavy work that comes with reaching new levels of success, healing generational trauma, changing the path of generational curses, right? Dismantling all of that. When you're doing that work, if the only people you rely on are your friends and family, at some point, you're going to wear them out. You're going to wear them out. You will risk the health and well-being of your relationships by continuing to take that heavy, heavy work to the people around you simply because they're closest to you and they happen to love you. Not everybody is set up to support us in this work. And that's not a judgment, it's just facts. As evidenced by the comments in that reel of all of the ladies saying, I've been that strong friend and I've lost friendships, or I've been that strong friend and my friend wasn't ready to receive what I was saying or whatever, so I had to be done, or else I was always going to be bailing her out or, trying to give her that same pep talk when her behavior was just X, right? Wore out, right? So let me bring this back to me and why I'm saying this. I'm a life coach. I'm literally a life coach. And as I work with women, busy women, and they're not busy just because they got a lot of things to do. They're busy because they want so much more for their lives and for their futures and for their families, right? And so they are out here trying to do all the things, right? They're trying to be successful in their careers. They're probably working on another degree, right? They're trying to be responsible caregivers and intentional parents, and they're helping to take care of their aging parents, and right, like they're doing all the things because that's what they want for themselves, and it's not easy. And if that's you, you absolutely deserve support. And if what you need to do to be supported is to pay a professional, then do that, sis. You already make the money. Spend it on yourself. Got a comment. This is why I have a business bestie. Yes, because my friends can't fully support me in my business journey, even though they also have businesses. Yes, right? Okay. So this is another thing. Black women, when we are like on the road to higher levels of success, we often look around and find ourselves in the vicinity of other Black women that are making similar moves, right? And it's easy to look around and be like, okay, you're going to be my new friend. Like, this is my new chosen family, the people who are on the same path that I'm on, right? And we can make great relationships, very meaningful, personally fulfilling relationships that start off as professional connections, right? And those folks can get worn out too. Because if they're on the same path that you're on, they're trying to hop over the same boulders and climb the same mountains that you are. They're facing the same obstacles that you are. They tired too. They are tired too, I promise you. Right? And they feel the same pressure that you feel to pick up the phone when you call because they want to be there for you. They feel the same pressure to give you what you need and to meet your emotional needs when you need them, because they feel that, right? And they want someone to be there for them in that way also. And trying to always be on and always be available to the people we love and to the people that we want to see win is exhausting. It's exhausting. So, as a life coach, my whole job is to be there in support of the women that I work with, right? When my clients hire me, it is, though, different than them hiring a friend, right? I made a post about this, I don't know, a couple of months ago. Maybe if you scroll back in my feed, you'll see it. But it said, I'm your life coach, not another one of your little friends, right? Because even though, like, I'm as real as the next one, right? And I'm as relatable as the next one. And we could sit on a session and swap stories about husbands and kids and jobs and challenges and all that, right? Like, I get all of that, and I am compassionate to all of that because that's my story. I'm not your little friend, right? I'm not going to be your cheerleader. Like, if you are, so mad at your man that you ready to fight, I'm not going to be like, let me put on my sneakers, come through and pick me up. That's not what I'm going to do. Because I'm not one of your little friends, right? There are two main differences in like having a good friend that you can talk to, that's your ride or die, right? That's always there, that strong friend, versus working with someone like me as a life coach. I'm gonna tell you what they are, and I'm gonna tell you what they mean. Two main differences. One is posture. Two is permission. And actually, I'm gonna do these in reverse. So the first one I'm gonna tell you about is permission. And then the second one I'll talk to you about is posture. So permission is one of the most important elements of the relationship that I have as a coach with my clients. When someone hires me as their coach, they are opting into a dynamic that allows me to give them feedback. They are also opting into spending scheduled time on a weekly basis, of almost an hour, 50-minute sessions with me, where the whole focus of the session is them and their lives and what they're doing or not doing and how they feel about all of it, right? One thing that happens in friendships where it gets really hairy is that your friends, even your strong friend, like they have needs and feelings too, right? And even though the strong friend wants to show up and be there for everybody else, like sometimes they had a bad day, right? And they want to vent to somebody, but if you started venting, they just gonna let you vent, right? And then the strong friend has needs that become unmet. And over the course of time, that can breed resentment in the relationship, right? That whole dynamic is taken care of between coach and client because you're literally paying me to have the conversation and the time be all about you. My story is completely irrelevant. You are literally paying me to show up with the emotional capacity to hold space for nothing but your feelings. Like I show up emotionally neutral and receptive so that I can be whatever it is that you need in that session. Huge, huge benefit. Because please tell me, if you're not working with a coach or even a therapist, right? Please tell me how many of you Black women have an hour a week dedicated where you can talk to somebody and know that it's only going to be about you and only you, and you don't have to feel guilty for that. How many of you have a relationship like that right now? Unless you're working with a coach or a therapist, you don't. Because relationships between friends and family are designed to be reciprocal, right? And when they end up heavy-handed or lopsided, right, where one friend's needs outweigh another, that's when the relationships start thinning out. Right? Yeah. No, never. No, you never do. Never. Right? And so in that reel, there were lots of folks, questioning whether or not the crying friend was actually going to receive what the strong friend was saying, right? Because the strong friend was saying, literally, I love you, do better, right? And telling her all of the reasons why she shouldn't settle for not better, right? And the strong friend was obviously emotional. She's crying, right? And one of the things I think I heard her say was something like, I can't hear it right now, but I hear you, right? And there were lots of people speculating that the crying friend was just going to go back to doing whatever she was doing before and that the problem wasn't going to get resolved, right? And lots of people in the comments, right, talking about how they have been the strong friend and they have, like, without permission, opted into that conversation and said, hey, friend, you're struggling. You need to do better. And I'm going to tell you, and this is going to be harsh, right? Doing that without permission of the crying friend can be really, really devastating. Like, it's not always welcome. Listen, just because you're my friend and just because you love me doesn't mean you have the right to tell me about myself. Right? It doesn't mean you have the right to tell me about myself. Now, listen, I expect that the people that love me will be honest with me. But that don't mean I always want to hear it. Yeah. If you have time, read the comments on that reel. It's really interesting. So just because I have friends, just because they love me and I love them, doesn't mean I always want to hear, like, the real truth. I'm not always ready for that, right? Me as a coach. When I turn off my coach mode and I'm just friend mode, I don't always want to hear it. Right? Sometimes I just want to woo, woo, woo. That's it, right? So permission, right, takes care of that in the coach-client relationship, because when the client shows up to the session with me, they know what time it is. It's time to be about this work, right? Like, they are literally saying, I am here for you to hold me accountable. I am here for you to give me feedback. I am here for you to help me work through all of this stuff, right? The permission is explicit in the relationship. One of the other differences that I mentioned between the coach-client relationship and friendships is also posture. So as a coach, the posture that I come into the relationship with is not of me being the expert and me knowing better than you, right? I'm a life coach. My clients are the experts in their own lives. I don't know your life better than you do. I have not lived your life. We may have shared experiences. We may have been on similar journeys, but that does not make me more of an expert in your life than you. Right? When I show up as a coach, I'm also not showing up with an agenda. Oh, y'all, this is good. So one of the things that happens in friendships that's real tricky is that even when our friends are, calling us out and trying to hold us accountable, telling us, I love you, do better, they're always saying it from their perspective, and our friends always have an agenda. Even when their agenda is to see us have the best, that's still an agenda because they have an opinion about what the best is, right? If you're my friend and you're always calling me crying about XYZ, significant other, I'm going to develop thoughts and opinions about whether or not you being in a relationship with homeboy is actually the best thing for you. As a coach, that's not the posture I take. As a coach, the only agenda I have for my clients is their agenda. As a coach, I'm not showing up telling you what to do. As a coach, I'm not showing up giving you advice. As a coach, I help my clients make their own decisions, and then I help them take action and show up in a way that helps the decisions that they have made for themselves come true. That is what I do. My agenda is not my preference. My agenda for my clients is whatever they decide the agenda is. Period. You can't get that with friends. You won't get that with friends. And I'm going to say you don't have to get that with friends if you expand your support circle to include professionals that can hold that space and neutrality for you. Black women, invest in support. So that's really what I had for you today. If any of y'all have questions, drop me some questions in the comments. I would love to respond to them. If y'all have thoughts about Black women and friendships, I would love to hear it. Y'all can use the question box or just drop them in the comments, whatever works. In the meantime, I will say this. If you are a Black woman and you are ready to be supported fully so that you can do the work of reaching new levels of success, right? If you just want to be supported by a professional so that you can give your friends a break, book a sales call with me for one-on-one coaching. I would love to be that support for you. And I know that together we can reach new levels of success, right? The only agenda I will come into the relationship with is the agenda that you have for yourself. We come into the relationship as equals, right? I'm not the expert in your life. You are, right? So if you are interested in working with me as your life coach, click the link that is in my bio and tap the button that says book a sales call for one-on-one coaching. This is how I love to work one-on-one. We will work together every week for about an hour for 6 months. Let me tell you. But listen, I want you to paint this picture. What would your life be like? No. How differently would you feel if you spent an hour every single week talking to someone whose job it was literally to pay attention to you and to help you and to support you without trying to push their agenda on you? What if you had an hour a week where you didn't have to show up as the strong friend and you could just be supported through anything that was feeling tough or difficult? What if you had a safe space where you knew you could have these conversations and it doesn't go any further than the Zoom room? How differently would you feel in 6 months? That is a life life-changing opportunity, a life-changing relationship. And it is absolutely 100% worth the investment. You need a support circle that is bigger than just your friends and family. My name is Elizabeth, and I would love to be your coach. When we are always wearing out our friends, the balance in our relationships and our personal relationships gets wonky, right? So one of the ways that I can help you create balance in your life at home is by bringing more balance to your personal relationships by you not stacking every burden you have at the feet of your friends and family. Having a separate place to process and be supported will allow you to have more meaningful, more satisfying personal relationships. Book a sales call with me for one-on-one coaching. I would love to work with you. Listen, I feel, we've been on now for like 43 minutes. If you have made it to the end of this, you're a real one. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Life Edit Project podcast. I'd love to hear what your favorite moment or key takeaway was from this conversation. You can send me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter to let me know. My handle is @LifeEditProject, all one word, in all the places. My social media is linked up in the show notes to make it easy for you. Holla at your girl. I'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, don't just stay busy with the life you have. Get busy creating the life you want.